His father wasn't present, unfortunately. His father wanted to have an abortion. He threatened me to have the abortion, and something told me in my prayer to go ahead and reach out to you guys. So I don't have any family, I don't have any support. And when he told me he wasn't going to support me and the baby, it was perfect timing. Everything was kind of falling apart for me. I ended up actually donating to this organization prior to my situation. And about 3 months down the road, I actually ended up in that situation and I wanted to reach out to them. I reached out to them on Instagram. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got a call back and she was wonderful. She was like, "Hey, can you send in any kind of paperwork that I need for this?" And I said, "Absolutely." And they ended up contacting me and they helped me get my car back together. They ended up helping me get my license. They ended up helping me with my apartment. They got me a down payment. They signed for credit. They ended up paying for 3 months after I gave birth because I had a C-section and it takes 8 weeks fully for everything to get back in order for me to go back to work. And honestly, they ended up helping me with a few bills here and there. And honestly, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to afford my baby. His father wasn't present, unfortunately. His father wanted to have an abortion. He threatened me to have the abortion, and something told me in my prayer to go ahead and reach out to you guys. And it was probably the biggest blessing I've ever had. I've never had so much peace out of any pregnancy that I've had with my children. So it was quite interesting. And like I said, if it wasn't for them, little old Zane wouldn't be here. I know for a fact he wouldn't be because I didn't have anywhere to go. I don't have any family. I don't have any support. And when he told me he wasn't going to support me and the baby, it was perfect timing. It was indeed perfect timing. And it was all within a 6 month span of each other, me reaching out, donating. And then 4 months later, I had to call. It's my turn. Unfortunately, it was my turn. So, but it was perfect. It was perfect. So, I got pregnant on October 5th, and then I found out October 27th, and I contacted them on the 28th because he said all those messed up things, and then, like I said, I didn't know what to do, and I contacted them, and they said, "Well, let us just give us some time, and then we're going to contact you," and they did within the month, and it was perfection. And then people would reach out daily, and it was super sweet because I didn't have anybody. And they reached out consistently and never made me feel like I was alone in it. And it was super sweet. People really genuinely cared, and it was super, super sweet. Never experienced anything like that before. I just started reading the Bible prior to that, and then y'all just popped up on my Instagram feed, and I seen one of the stories, and I don't know, it just hit me close to home. And I did. I donated because I felt like it was the right thing to do. But little did I know the donations were coming for me after that. Like it's interesting. I was working a warehouse job and I was picking up like 50, 60 pound boxes, like 12 hours a day. And that job, you can't do that while you're pregnant. I wasn't going to be able to keep that job. And I had a lot of bills every month. And I knew that if I had any other job, I wasn't going to be able to afford anything. So I ended up losing my house. I lost my job. It was really hard. And they did everything for me until I got a job. They handled everything up until I had my job. So, like I said, he wasn't going to be present. And then honestly, he found out about you guys helping me. And I think that honestly kind of kicked it into gear. Like maybe I should have been there. Maybe I should have been the man that was supposed to be there for her. And it kind of kicked him in the butt for it. And he just kind of realized. But after I had Zane and he saw Zane and he was just like, I feel terrible. He had like a sudden realization. He was just like, I'm just not the person that I'm supposed to be. And I don't know, he changed a little bit and he stepped up the way he was supposed to. So I'm thankful for that. It was just the beginning. There seemed like there was no hope for him to have a father at all. So it was terrible. It's really bad. Not anymore. No, 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 great. Everything's great now. He tells me all the time. He thanks me all the time, and I tell him all the time. I'm like, you need to thank them. You have to thank them because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. I would have been homeless. I wouldn't have had a car. Like I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of things. I would have been down and out and pregnant, and it was just horrible. He did. He realized once I was getting these blessings, he was just like, oh well, like. But yeah, he does. I had a few people reach out to me consistently, actually. I even had people, nuns, reaching out to me from like Pennsylvania. So, I mean, I couldn't honestly tell you which one it was because there was so many. Jody, yes, she had little girls. Yes, I remember Jody. She was one of them, though. Like, I had like quite a few people. For I went to, yeah, the pregnancy crisis centers. Yeah, I went there and did classes there, but eventually it got down to the point where I was 8 pounds and 10 ounces, and I really couldn't waddle too much further. After kind of about like 7 pounds, it was huge. Honestly, just getting down to the fact that, I was alone. They were there. Like I said, they would consistently reach out. Even if there was days where I didn't feel good or I felt bad, they would still reach out. It was never like a one-sided thing on my part. It was consistent support. It was very consistent support from numerous people, like to the point where I can't even remember all of their names at the moment. But it was like they knew something was wrong, and they knew that I wasn't reaching out for a reason, and they just kept persisting. And it was perfect because it brought me out of a funk more than a handful of times. There was days where I would just boo-hoo cry, and everybody would just sit on the phone with me for more than an hour. It was like my therapy. I was like my therapist before I got a therapist because I had to get one, but they were there for me before. I worked my entire pregnancy. Yes, I was working at Olive Garden, and they had like glass plates, and they are heavy, but it was good. People loved seeing me waddle around, so that was fun. They call Zane the Olive Garden baby now. It's perfect. It's perfect. Everything about it was a blessing. My baby is a blessing. Like I tell everybody about you guys, like as soon as I hear something bad about a woman and she's in a crisis, I'm like, hey, listen, there's this team. Like they're gonna love you, I promise. So it's like I tell everybody about it. And even now it's like I don't know how to explain it. His dad doesn't really want me to say much about it because I don't know, maybe because I was in such a vulnerable state and I needed that, he was like, why would you want to know? It's like, you tell everybody about your testimony. It's like, this is like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like when you get a good job offer, you're like, I want to tell everybody. It would have never been possible, honestly. I can tell you that, like, without finding God and then finding you guys, it just wouldn't have been possible. I'd have really been out on the streets living in my little Honda Accord. Like, it wouldn't have been good. It was not okay, So it, I had to change my entire life. Like, I had to rearrange my entire life from my house to my job. Like, I even had to get a bigger car. So there's like so much to it because it's just the way it is. But they're amazing. They're definitely somebody that will have your back no matter what. I remember reaching out a few times with some random things. I'm like, this is, in the way of me progressing with everything, and them just being like, well, let me reach out to them and see if we can fix this. And usually, they did. And it was surprising because it was almost like I didn't have any faith at a certain time frame up until about halfway into it. And I'm like, this is insane, but it's happening. Like, I can't believe this is happening. It was awesome. People couldn't believe it. My family was flabbergasted, and nobody had ever heard of Let Them Live. And I'm just like, well, I'm going to tell the whole world now. So my family didn't know. I didn't tell anybody, actually. I didn't tell anybody for a very long time. So that's where I was very lonely, and I didn't know how to express my emotions, or didn't know how to deal with it because it was just, I didn't feel like I should tell anybody. I was in a bad spot, and I felt like everybody was going to judge me and be like, oh, well, this isn't the time, or you should have known better. This is just, there's so many things that people said, and they did say it. Even when I waited 6 months before I told everybody, people still had bad things to say, but I already had it handled. Y'all already had me handled at that moment in time when I told everybody. So whatever they said kind of just went out the window. Like, oh, why would you want to keep that baby if you didn't want it? It's not your choice to make. So It is very hurtful. And honestly, I would just reach out at any time. And she was always right there. Everybody always answered my phone call. They were always, it was like they was on standby. It was- so, it's honestly, it made me stronger with the Lord. It's made my faith grow. If it, I honestly can say that everybody has their own testimony. And I feel like that was one of them. And that's probably one of the biggest testimonies I'm probably going to have in my life because I didn't know what else to do but pray. And then when I reached out, like I would just, it really helped me with my faith. That's really crazy. As weird as that is. It was honestly supernatural because I'm telling you, I literally had everything going against me at that moment in time. I felt like there was no way out. I felt like I was about to be in a hole and he brought me right back out of it. So it's just, I think it's overcoming a woman's mental of having to rely on something such as the Lord. It's sometimes it's you can't see it, you can't feel it, but only so much. And then most of the time, people aren't in the Word to, I don't know, feel the Holy Spirit. But the thing is, it's like it's 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 so hard to explain to people to get out of that mental because my mental state was rough. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And it, like you said, when people are constantly in your ear making you feel some kind of way, you're like, this is just going to be down. This is horrible. Like I'm never going to come out of this. And then really, I don't know if y'all gave me the security and the safe feeling of knowing that I can pull myself out of this and this is going to work for my favor. Yeah, that warm, fuzzy feeling that I get. Like I just don't ever feel that kind of peace until I ended up picking up a Bible one day. Because I've always like believed in Jesus. I always believed in God and whatnot. There was a higher power, but I've never lived by it. I never read it. I never got into it. And then once I got into it, I felt like I was having some spiritual warfare going on and like, oh, this is it. Like, are you gonna go back to your worldly ways or are you just gonna continue this narrow path? What's going on? I had to continue that narrow path and it was hard. Even if you don't have kids prior to this, it's probably the most scariest situation that you can ever be in, especially if you're alone, especially if somebody acts like they don't want that baby. But at the end of the day, that baby's going to want you more than anybody in this entire world. And the baby's going to love you more than anybody in this entire world. So I would just say to stay strong and pray and make sure to reach out to let them live. They will love you more than anything in the world. And that's what I tell people whenever they say stuff like that. They don't want to have the baby or somebody else. I'm just like, but you want love, correct? You want to be loved more than anything. You want to be loved like Jesus. The only thing that you're going to be close to that is a child loving you. I would say that it's never better off to have the abortion. I don't think that, honestly, it's so hard because you don't want to upset people and people always have their own feelings towards that situation. And some people are very stern about that. And I don't want to be a judgmental person, but you're probably missing out on the best blessing of your entire life to have a kid. I waited till I was 28 to have my kid, and I don't know why I didn't have it sooner. I don't. It's not. You're not a bad person for wanting what you want, but you are going to miss out on the best thing in your life. It's my opinion. Even Zane's father, he still regrets saying that to this day. He apologizes. Even a year later, he just still apologizes. Like, I can't believe I said that. Like, he is the best thing that's ever happened to me. You gave me the best gift that anybody could ever give me, so.
Zane, say hey mama. Say mama, 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 mama. Say mama, mama, mama.